Well, that's what's happening in Syria right now. Joining us from Sarajevo in Bosnia is Toby Cadman. He's a lawyer representing the opposition Syrian Emergency Task Force. Thanks very much for speaking to us, Toby. So who are the Syrian Emergency Task Force and what are you doing for them?
Good morning. The Syrian Emergency Task Force is a group of interested Syrian-Americans based in Washington, D.C. That have come together to galvanize opposition support in bringing an end to the humanitarian crisis in Syria. My role as an international lawyer is that I've been engaged as legal counsel for the SETF, and I'm working on a number of different fronts. I'm working on currently a civil action that has been filed in the federal courts in Washington, D.C. against Bashar al-Assad and another 5 defendants at the top of the regime. This is a civil case for acts of torture and other prohibited acts under international criminal law. But I'm also working on putting together a dossier cataloguing what are ostensibly crimes against humanity committed by the regime in order to take this file to the prosecutor at the International Criminal Court, so that the ICC prosecutor can in turn take this to the UN Security Council.
Okay, if we could look first at that civil lawsuit filed in the U.S. against President Assad, what can you get out of a U.S. court? What kind of jurisdiction would the U.S. have over the Syrian president?
Well, under U.S. legislation in force, acts of torture can be brought against a foreign head of state, provided there is a nexus to the U.S., namely, in our case, that we are dealing with Syrian-Americans, and we are looking at people who are resident in the United States, so they have the right to bring a civil action against a foreign head of state.
You're also building a case against the Syrian government to take to the ICC. Does the ICC have any jurisdiction in Syria?
Currently, no. It's a complicated process. You will have seen that the UN Human Rights Commissioner has already categorized these crimes as crimes against humanity, falling within the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court. But Syria is not a state party to the Rome Statute. Now, what that means is that the ICC prosecutor can only initiate an investigation, and the ICC can only have jurisdiction if it's referred by the UN Security Council.
Okay, so what's this process going to be then? You're collecting information. I believe you went to the Turkish-Syria border to collect information. What happens to the information and evidence that you collect?
Well, as I said, we're cataloguing the crimes that have been committed, and the crimes that we are looking have been committed on a massive scale. It's our view that the widespread and systematic nature of these crimes will constitute crimes against humanity. What we are doing is taking statements from eyewitnesses, people who have been subjected to torture themselves, people who have lost family members, and Syrian activists who are documenting these crimes. What we are trying to do is to put this together in a comprehensive dossier that the ICC prosecutor can then use to convince the Security Council to refer jurisdiction.
Okay. Thank you very much for speaking to us. Toby Cadman, a lawyer representing the opposition Syrian Emergency Task Force.